is everybody not sitting down out here? Because we're not going inside,
Thank you.
Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're not going inside.
Thank you.
We've determined that. We came up here because you
Thank
asked us
you.
to come here instead of sitting on the street in Broadway where we wanted to have.
I will see sisters, but I'll tell them to come outside.
Thank you.
I was bringing you guys when we talk, we're going to dialogue. We're going to dialogue. And then why is it so important to have all this together?
I want to see the faces and tell stories.
This is the media.
This is my ground.
Please.
I have a right to ask, okay?
I'm just asking you to turn by the camera.
I
I want to see
I'm
who tells
not
the lies.
anything, you know.
Okay, all right,
That's all.
So there
All
are
right,
some.
who's your facilitator?
That's the truth.
I thought you guys were bringing a person to facilitate.
Sure.
Yeah, we actually got to come. So
River is a very good facilitator.
I'm happy to facilitate. I'm happy maybe Rosalind and I could even help.
So that again,
We can actually facilitate together.
Okay, listen. Sure. I think Robin will facilitate for you all.
We'll facilitate together, River and I. Would you like to?
no, nobody's saying we would just facilitate.
Nobody voted in there. They voted out of it. You're talking about real people. Yes or not?
Fire up the electronics.
Pastor Jones will facilitate also. And
Rosalind has not been showing up. Rosalind is here today. Thank you, Rosalind, for being here. But she's not going to facilitate. I will. And, I mean, you know, she can co-facilitate, but I'm just saying, the whole issue is surrounded around, you know why, calling the cops on white people.
okay.
I'm looking for,
right.
I mean, on black people. And I'm looking for someone else who's not here, so. You know.
Okay, let's get started. Let's get started. What I want to do first, I want to just have a word of prayer. And then introduce some of the people here, and then we will turn it in you guys' hand and we'll get this over, all right? So bow your heads where you are. Father, in the precious name of thy Son, Jesus Christ, you do all things well. You have called us to live peacefully among men and brothers and sisters. God, we ask that you intervene in this issue that, God, has become a bad issue in our city. We ask that you help us, that you encourage us, that you bless us in this meeting. God, let hate move out this place. Let love, because of the love and kindness that have you drawn us. Bless each and every one of the sound of my voice, and we'll give it back to you in praise in your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, I'm glad you all came. We want to get this over with and out the way. Pastor Harold Lust is here. Pastor Superintendent Jones is here. The mayor is here. And Pastor Donovan is here. My wife is here. I welcome you to the grounds of Greater Victory Temple, where the love of Jesus abides all over. Amen. It's good to see Sister Smith. Rob, I don't know everybody's name. It's good to see everyone here. Our thing is to have a peaceful dialogue, get this over with, so Black Lives Matter can continue and you can go about doing whatever that you're doing. Is it all right? But I want to just thank God for our mayor being here also. All right. So at this time, Facilitator Smith, you can start.
Okay, do anybody want to come over here in the shade? Okay, it looks like y'all want to stand there burning the sun. I mean, I know our cameraman and everything. Did you say we need the mic? So, how many people are going to be speaking on your side?
At least it's Jenny and Reverend Lust may speak.
I don't need Reverend Lester to speak. He's out of there. Okay.
I'll speak.
And Pastor Jones speak this.
Pastor
And
Jones.
Reverend Les is going to speak.
Well, we're going to walk out, Reverend Lester, because it's already been sort of statement. We already established this before we got here.
Sister Mary, we talked about, we didn't say we couldn't speak from your side. It happened down there with the all right. Does this all have to do with what happened on June 19th?
Well, it has to do with what we want to stop happening. It all has to do with
We're
what
not
we
going
want.
to call it like police and stuff. So we need to get moving. You know, say 5 o'clock, it's already 5:25.
Thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Marilyn Pritching. I have worked with Miriam Smith and the Community 831 to put this together and to speak about this issue. I used the California Public Records Act to contact the Seaside Police records, and I found that there were 20 calls made since February about concerning the Googi Grill location. 14 directly involving the Googi Grill address, and then more directly concerning the Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. The reports that were given to us one was concerning an incident on April 17th, and they mentioned that she had called people several times. And then also on May 9th, that there was an ongoing issue with the church blocking all parking spots, and the person was upset that her customers have nowhere to park and believes this is illegal. And then on the 19th of June, she wanted to know if the protesters had a permit. They are blocking the entrance and also parking in their parking lot. She said that the unit calls her, she said it's imperative that the unit calls her quickly and that she isn't happy. So that's the data that we have of the calls made concerning the Googi Grill location about police action in the last 6 months.
6 months.
Yes.
So what is that about?
5 months since February.
So how many calls? That's 2
Once a
calls
week.
once a week? So that's calling once a week in 5 months? Okay. So the concern here, everybody, is calling the cops on black people. And I know that the black leaders are not concerned about that. But the poor black people in this community are the ones that are damaged by that. Okay, everybody in this community does not have a relationship with the police where they can call the police down like Reverend Les does. And if we have somebody in our community that doesn't even live in our community but does business in our community, constantly calling the cops, and then they call one time on a black event that's happening in our community that includes the community. Just because it went to the church does not mean that it includes the community. Tanisha, you called the community to come and celebrate the Juneteenth, right?
Correct.
Okay, so this involved and included the community. It did not include and involve just one person or that person's church. So the important thing that people need to understand is we do not want the cops being called on black people for petty reasons, and especially black people. So to have 20 calls happen in 5-month period and directed at checking to see if somebody got a legal right to do this or legal right to do that, that's dangerous to make these calls and be on black people. Or do they have a permit, or do they have that, or they parked over here and I think they're working on cars and I think they're working on this, and all these reasons she called, and she's not willing to give an apology. She says it's a mistake. I wanted to be very clear, since she said it was a mistake the last time, and everybody thinks that it was a mistake and there's been a white centering for her, a white woman being centered. I wanted it to be very clear that this is not a mistake. This is an ongoing thing, and it's an attack on black lives, and it has to stop. It has to stop with anybody in our community constantly calling the cops on black people. It's dangerous. We're not going to shut it down and pretend like it doesn't happen and pretend like it's not dangerous. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to cater to somebody that brings you into a slave mentality type of situation where you feel like, oh, I don't want the city mad at me. I got to be careful. I don't want to get in trouble. I got to be careful. No, she calls the cops way too much. And that was her last call to the cop. We're asking her not to call the cops. She can do what the hell she wants to do. Okay? But we're saying don't call the cops. She had every right to call the cops. Now, just so you be clear, every right to call the cops. There's no law in there that says she can't call the cops. But we're saying don't call the cops. We want a contract of her not calling the cops. We asked her to put a sign up, and see, one thing that's very important, and I'm going to allow everybody to talk about 2 minutes that want to talk, at least 6 of our people in our group if you choose to. But, and you and Tanisha can talk longer.
Yes. I know who you're talking.
You know. So this is very important issue, and you need to understand that calling cops on black people is violent, okay? And then treating black people, getting all these black people to support you and center around you, and you've been doing this dangerous stuff in our city. It has to stop, and it stops. Okay, and it stops now, not later. But like I said, we want a contract. We put our sign up in the window. Where's our sign, Reverend Les, since you showed up?
I have your sign.
Where is it at? I want it now.
Can you please stop talking to me like that?
Well, you talked to us that way when we showed up. Oh, do you want anybody want to show the videos?
You can show the video. I
You all up in her face,
I've seen the video.
yelling at her.
Without a mask.
Continue to.
And you cannot abuse women like this, black women like this, and then turn around and treat a white sinner a white woman. You can't do that. I won't have it. You want to talk any kind of way to us? Black women are important too. And that's the whole point. You can't dismiss us. We won't be dismissed. So anyway, I want the sign. I really was told the sign would be coming. No, just a minute. So anyway, the other thing we want is the sign up in her window for an agreed upon amount of time, not for her to just take it down when she feels like it. The other thing we want is, even if they don't have the sign with the, we understand that there might be an issue with the Black Lives Matter on the sign. So we'll say, pause the cause to say Black Lives. You know, we'll redo another sign just for you. So the sign, the contract, and a genuine apology. Her apology was ingenuine. She said, I'm sorry for a mistake. Calling that many times does not show me it was a mistake. It was intentional. You do it all the time. She said, I called the vet. Okay, you called the vet. Do they have a legal right? Do they have this? Do they have that? You're calling to get folks in trouble. Okay? Hey, that's what white folks do. We've been doing it. You live in Carmel and we live out here. Okay, but we got to be punished. For showing up at your parking lot, walking through your parking lot, parking on your parking lot, all this kind of stuff, it's got to stop. You don't live among us, but you want to call the cops on us and put us in dangerous situation. Because cops show up and they're nasty. I've been here all my life. They're nasty. They're not friendly at all in Seaside, California.
They're armed.
And you don't care because you walk away after you sick the dogs on us. Okay, you want to talk and then we'll...
Hey, my name is Gertrude. I am the, I guess, Pause the Cause is sort of my brainchild, and I determined that this would be an ongoing campaign and effort that was a community collaborative thing to get people to be more responsible for the things that we want to make a difference in, because quite frankly, calling the police a lot of times turns out to be a very lazy way to address a situation that you have concerns about. And also because Black Lives Matter, and because we are usually disproportionately affected by the justice system and the prison industrial complex, and you know, far too often we are harmed by police and vigilantes who are not really vigilantes if their actions are condoned by the police, but you all get the point. I just wanted to say that I've noticed that a good number of the black men that have come out to show support for Jennifer, Kadosh, is your name Kadosh? Kadosh? Okay. Kadosh, okay. They either have had employment in the prison industrial complex or as peace officers, and so, you know, their biases lean a certain way, and I just want them to be very, very aware, in case there's any confusion, that in doing what you're doing, in coddling Jennifer and not encouraging Jennifer to seek proper accountability, you're actually detracting from a movement that's meant to benefit you as well. You're acting adverse to your own best interests, and you're doing it with hostility towards the people that are fighting alongside you, or fighting, well, really for us, because if we're being honest, black men victimize, you know, other people of marginalized genders as well. But that's a whole other topic that, you know. But I just want you all to be accountable and to be aware of the impact that you're making, and to realize that you may not be on the right side of history when you go forward and you do things out of the desire to have them be palatable versus the desire to do the right thing. And I just also want to reiterate that in addressing, there was time also where Jennifer had addressed threats that were made, and the way that she worded it made it seem like those threats were made towards her. And I think it needs to be very clear that those threats were made towards Kayla Jones, and they were made on behalf of Jennifer by people who support Jennifer, white folks in the community who are, you know, keyboard warriors and hiding behind their computer screens and whatnot. And, you know, Kayla is like 4'11". It's easy for y'all to try and think y'all can step to her or step to them and try and intimidate them. But what y'all not finna do is intimidate us as a whole community. And all y'all can see this video. I don't really care. Y'all not gonna intimidate all of us together. Period. So what I want to say is, be mindful of the side that you're on. Be mindful of the things that you're saying. Be mindful of the causes that you're championing. And this is really a call in with all love and all honor. You know, honoring the humanity in all of us here. This is a call in. But just because I have love for y'all and I want y'all to do right, doesn't mean, just because I have love for y'all, doesn't mean I'm not gonna call on you to do right, you know. Anyway, so I'm gonna yield for now, and yeah, that's what I.
How many of us wanted to speak? Because we're gonna we're not gonna all of us speak and then all of them speak. That's not gonna work that way. But how many of us want to speak? Okay. Okay. And I know you're speaking, Rosalind and Tanisha, right?
Should it go one and one?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
let them have a
do you
turn.
want to speak? Yeah. On it?
I can if you want me to, yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Tay speaking, Audra speaking, Rosalind and Tanisha. Okay, and then on the side in favor of her, I guess it's in favor of her because it looks like we got all this support for her, centering her, and that's where the hate comes in, internalized hate for our own selves and people like us comes in, you know, because we got to bow down to whatever the white people laws they lay down and say. So, in favor of her, how many people are speaking on the behalf of her?
It's unfair to put it like that. The
Oh,
phrase
that's-
it's still unfair.
Oh,
And
well,
I think we should be
It's
fair.
embarrassing to say Black Lives
Why?
Matter. That's what
okay, can I hear you guys say Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter.
Okay, does Black Lives Matter to the black folks? Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter.
Does it matter to you? Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not hard to say.
It's
Okay.
not hard to say at all.
So the thing is
Still
that
political.
well, we have problems with our leaders and pastors. With
We're ready for one of the
Right.
speakers on the
okay.
other side.
So well, I'm still talking right now.
we outside. It's okay.
I'm still talking right now. So one of the things that's very important that we need to understand is we have a problem with internalized hatred of ourselves and the color of our skin and the people that look like us. So as black people, a lot of us will jump to the side of what is the normal practice of enslaving us and keep that going, that slavery mentality going. We are not free when people are constantly calling the cops on us for petty little things. The other thing I want to make sure to add is, since Asa's not here, is that we want, one of the things we want to make sure, and if anybody else have anything that they want to bring to the table to add to that, but there are at least 4 things that we want to see done, is that she hires security, her own security for the city of Seaside, and not force people in the city of Seaside, taxpayers' dollars, to have to come to her aid for petty stuff about her car, about her parking lot. She has her own personal security or a personal bodyguard if she wants, since we're so scary. Black lives are scary people. We want her to have her own security so that when people show up, in her parking lot, the security deals with it, not our Seaside taxpayers' dollar deal with it. Too many calls made to the police on the behalf of venting. Okay, anybody? Who's the next? Oh, come on, River.
We're gonna go one and one right here.
Sure. Yeah, but I would also just like to say thank you all for being here, and I want to apologize that we didn't come into this more organized. I had hoped or assumed that there was an outdoor seating and things like that planned, because that's what we talked about, and I could have taken on more organization myself, and I apologize that this was not set up more in advance. And also that the mediators that I had asked is at risk and didn't want to be here in person, and I guess I just dropped the ball on that, on having a neutral moderator. But I hope that this is good, and I hope that we can also give Jennifer space to speak, and give anybody a space to speak, because I think that this entire incident and then series of incidents has just revealed a lot about the fact that we're really not on the same page as a community. And I would love if we could be just here to listen to one another out of love, which I've heard Gertrude say, and I've heard Pastor Britt say, and that is definitely what I want to see. And so I would like to share some things, but first I would like to ask if there are some other folks who maybe aren't here on behalf of Pause the Calls who might want to share something.
Can I share something that I'm going to share again later? But let me say that we're all here on the line. We're all here in support of Black Lives Matter. We are all standing together. However, there is currently in our community a disagreement. And so what we want to do is, while we're here, we're not here as on any side. We're here in neutral ground to say, hey, let's come together as a community and let's work this thing out together. There is no need to throw a lot of slander or to throw a lot of words around to put everybody in the same pot to say we're all about this, we're all about that. We're here in order to resolve a conflict because may call on Black people for no apparent reason or for frivolous causes. No one wants that. But by the same token, business owners want to be able to use the spaces that they pay for. By the same token, our community has to work together. And that's where we are. Does Black Lives Matter? I'm a black man. No one knows better than me that Black Lives Matter. That's where we are. And so that's why we want to all come together and resolve this so that this community of Seaside, can move together and we all can get behind the cause and be successful. Thank you.
Anybody want to stand back here with our sign, with the sign?
Only lied about what happened to
Are we
him.
ready for Jennifer?
We can have Jennifer. Jennifer, are you ready to talk? We can. Well, there's a couple of people that want you to listen to them a second. So can we give about 2 minutes to each? At least 3 of these people that want to talk, and that would be Tay. Did you want to say something, Tay?
Just real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm so glad we're here at this place now where we're able to talk, because this right here could have avoided a lot of other things, and we just really wanted some compassion and some empathy for how calling the police on black people affects us. We just wanted to see real sincere empathy and compassion, and we're at the point now where we can actually come to an agreement, a mutual agreement where there's some understanding. We just want to see some sincere empathy and compassion.
And then Tanisha, did you want to talk? And I'm not gonna put a time on what you and Rosalind have to say.
No, my mom, that's fine.
You want to talk now?
No, or
Go ahead, Rob.
I want to
We didn't hear
bring
the
things
whole-
in. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I will. I did want to address the situation at my uncle's funeral when you were yelling in the parking lot in front of my car. And so I was going to move my car and I asked you what the problem was and you refused to speak to me. So that there is also an issue. I'll never forget it. You might forget, but I won't. So you literally told me I don't have to talk to you and I'm not talking to you. And all I wanted to know what the problem was because you were yelling in front of my car. And so I had to move my car, but you had to move out of my way for me to move. And just that prime example right there is just another issue. Like, you dismissed me, and that's a problem. Because all I said was, hey, what's the problem? Communication. Well, there was a funeral. There's a lot of people out there outside, social distancing. And I did park there in your lot. And that was in May. So, I mean, now that I know not to park there, I've been parking there forever. My grandma parked there since I was a little girl. So I never knew it was an issue until now, which now that it's an issue, I won't park there. That's fine. But I just needed you to communicate that to me and not call the police.
The only thing I could say is that I've just been really frustrated with the parking issues.
I was at my uncle's funeral.
I'm
Compassion.
sorry.
Empathy.
I did not mean to.
Dismiss me and be rude and tell me you don't have to talk to me like I'm just nobody in my community.
I did not. That was never my intention.
Okay, that's how I felt.
Very sorry. I hope you can accept my apology.
I do. Thank you.
Okay, Merlin wanted to say something since Robin wants to talk at the end. She's gonna talk, she's just talked with her, so she's gonna talk. She needs to hear from the community. She needs to hear from the community.
I did go some type of
Are you ready?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. My name is Marilyn. As you can see, I'm a white woman. I'm here to support the Black Lives Movement and the Pause the Calls movement. And I just want to say that I grew up in North Carolina for a long time. And for a long time, I didn't really understand how deeply racism affected Black people. In school, we basically learned civil rights movement. Everything's fixed, hooray, and nobody really said. Never really talked about police brutality or anything. I know that there were movements, but of course, I was a middle class white kid. I didn't read the news or anything. I wasn't aware. So I didn't realize that I had privilege. So privilege is something that is invisible to me because unless I talk to a Black person or communicate with Black people, nobody wants to know that we have privilege that you all don't have. And the other thing is that I've had not that many encounters with the police, I guess, but I understand now through all of the many taped encounters that people have posted that have happened that Black people have different encounters with the police than we do, and it's something that you're never going to see unless you witness it. And so it's just very important that we understand that as white women we've been taught to weaponize our femininity, to become small, to try to get out of situations by sort of worming through, and even my dress today is a little bit that. And we've been taught to hide behind men, to not speak too loudly, and I think we have to make a choice. It might be our civil right to call the police, but we have to make a choice, a conscious moral choice in that moment. What calling the police might mean for the person on the other side, because the truth is that the police response in any situation differs between cops, between police officers, between days, between cities, and it's basically a wild card. So we don't know if that person who has a gun, who comes into contact with that person, what they're going to do. And we have evidence through Philando Castile and Trayvon Martin and Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old with a toy gun, that no matter what Black people do, there's no magic thing understand that if you call the police, that you're making a conscious choice in that moment. We've seen evidence from Amy Cooper. She literally said to a man who was bird watching and telling her to please put her dog on a leash, I am going to tell the police that an African American man is attacking me. So she literally said in that moment she had knowledge of the weaponization of her white femininity. And so I ask that we all take that into account in our and to please just be conscious of everything and to know that what we think is just a walk in the park is not for someone else. So then again, there are laws and there are morals, and just because something is lawful doesn't mean that it's right. I mean, do we need to talk about what was lawful in this country? The genocide, the cultural genocide that has occurred to Native Americans, to Asian Americans, to black people, to black Americans. So just remember that just because something's lawful doesn't mean it's right, and to please just be conscious of what we've been taught and how to protect our black community members. Thank you so much, and I hope that we can come together and just understand that this is a journey for us. It's never the idea that we're saying, let's wrap this up, let's get this over with. For us, it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing mental journey that we're always going to make mistakes, and that's okay, but just a sincere apology is important, and a sincere knowledge of wrongdoing and of your power is needed. So thank you, and Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Miriam. And I just want to note that I don't think we talked about it, that on the day of the funeral, what I understand that date was, 2 calls were made to the police. 2 calls were made. So these calls are very intentional, and I heard her apologizing to Tanisha for that. And I heard Tanisha make a statement that she won't do that again. But the bottom line, that's the resolve we look for in the community.
Correct.
And had I got that at the funeral on Juneteenth, it was my event, FYI, on Juneteenth. So had we communicated when I said what's the problem at the funeral, 2 weeks later, I would have known better, and I would have made sure nobody was over there. But we didn't have a conversation. I didn't even know what your problem was because you dismissed me. So that's what communication.
Honestly, I really wasn't aware of this yellow.
Come on, Jennifer.
Can you speak up?
Come on, Jennifer.
I understand.
Well, I spent.
She's talking to her. You got it. Okay, we're doing this live. We have nothing but respect for each other here. I might be sounding hard. So I might sound hard because I'm a different type of person. When I got grown, I had to learn how to talk and learn how to communicate and learn a lot of stuff, but they didn't educate me. So I'm one of the ones that you call the cops on me, I might not know what to say to the cops. I might have been yelling and hollering and then got arrested or beat up or whatever. So it really disturbs me when that kind of stuff happens, because there's a whole lot of me in this community, a whole lot of me.
It took for the protests to make this happen right now. So I'm glad that it's here, and we want to avoid this happening.
And I'm only this close because we don't have anything. I'm honestly feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I sat in front of my computer all day today and wrote out my words and wrote 5 pages, but I'm not going to read any of it.
Coming from the heart.
I didn't really, I've been educated a lot. River and I had spent time on the phone for a couple hours about.
Yeah.
And she expressed to me a lot of the issues that have happened to Black Americans over the years. And not that I hadn't learned these things in school, but, you know, it's, you just kind of, no excuses, but you just kind of go ahead and you just live your life the way you know how. And that's what I've been doing, you know, and just kind of just plowing through it. And continuing on doing what I do every day, you know, just focused on my own things that I need to get done, the list of 100 things that you all, I'm sure, can relate to. Yes, I have probably called a little bit much. I won't deny that. And but yes, as a business owner, I've had to fight for that parking lot, for not just me, but for the tenants that are there. And my father makes sure that I do everything the way he says it. So I do what I do, and I honestly, about myself, I do not believe I am a racist person at all. In my own mind, I don't believe that's what I am. I love people. And regardless, my neighbors is the Bethel Missionary Church behind me. And, yeah, sometimes I get a little irritated with the parking situation, and that's just life. It's just life. And yeah, Pastor Lusk and I have probably not seen eye to eye on things, but you better believe it. I see very clearly now, and we are good. And I can go to him, and he can go to me, and I see a really wonderful thing happening between him and me, and that we can make it a really good community space together. I think that's the best part for at least our street that has come out of this. That him and I are together, and we can do things for the community together. Regarding Chanel, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Kayla's fine for now.
Regarding Kayla, part of this is, please don't take, I'm not going to say anything what I think you want me to say. I want to just come from how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we want.
I hope you can understand on some level that I was not trying to single out any black people or anything of that nature. I wasn't just asking black people. It was other white people. As a matter of fact, a man came to me the other day at the restaurant, and he brought me a letter that he said, I didn't know who he was, except he told me, you asked me to remove my car from your lot. And he was white. And he handed me a letter, and he said, well, I wanted you to read it before I took it down to the weekly so that maybe they could put it in which they didn't do. And, it was pretty much a straightforward accounting of what I did. I wasn't looking for anyone black. I was just looking at the cars and the situation and knowing May, and she closed early. She canceled her appointments. The Fastenal they were like, we can't get any customers. I walked into my business and I saw my full staff waiting for customers to serve. And you know, maybe if I had known the situation beforehand, maybe Googi Grill would have been part of the Juneteenth celebration. And you know, hopefully that's maybe something, if it happens again, we could do something together in that. And so, for the actions that I took that day, I never intended to zero in on Black people. That was not who I am, and that is not who I would ever want to be.
Yeah. So now, knowing what you know, do you know why it's important to pause the calls? Now, you said you didn't know at the time when you first called that day, but now knowing what you know and all that you've learned, do you know why it's important to pause the calls?
Oh, well, that was something I had written about. Yeah, I mean, I understand more. I do understand. I'm never going to be in a Black person's shoes, and I will never fully understand, and I will never pretend that I fully understand. But I do understand better. Maybe there's more to learn.
And I just also wanted to say, like, I know you said you didn't intend to single people out, but a part of the problem is that if you call the police on, you know, a whole lot of people, the people in those groups of different demographics are going to be treated differently. So if there's Black folks there, yeah, exactly.
I'm getting that part.
Good. So you know, regardless of if you meant to, you know, it's good that you're more aware of that, so you can be more sensitive to that. And then
guys
also
have made it very clear.
And also, I also wanted to say, as a neighbor, as a community member, regardless of what you are here for, whether you live in Seaside or you have loved ones in Seaside or you do your business. So whether you live in Seaside or you have loved ones in Seaside or you do your business in Seaside, being neighborly is everyone's responsibility, right? And you know, you could have just as well reached out and learned about events that are taking place, you know? I have visited the Googi Grill, and you know, I enjoyed when I went there, you know, in the past. However, I have never seen the Googi Grill overwhelmingly busy. And if people really enjoy patronizing your business, they are going to find a place to park as well, even while you're trying to mitigate the chaos that might be taking place in the moment, and you're frustrated about people parking in your business lot. If people are really truly,
I mean, she was talking and we thought we had questions, but she going into another dialogue.
okay. Well, I'm gonna keep my take to myself for now. But you can finish what you were saying, Jennifer.
Our bad.
I think what you were saying is people will find a way to come to my restaurant.
Yes.
If
Yes.
they really want to.
Yes.
Regardless of the parking.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm aware of that too, because sometimes I wonder where these people come from. I just give me a sec. Let me see if there's like a.
Can I add?
You know what? I heard that. It is a great idea, but we are a small business, and you know.
Got one security right next door, right? New neighbor.
I was just saying, so
Like,
Jennifer, the point is then that if you're utilizing the Seaside Police
lot of these.
Yeah, that was just one prominent. So exactly. So if you're using taxpayer dollars to have someone come down to check on whether a black person has a permit to be there, or
No,
in the
let me
case
clarify.
of Juneteenth, or another call which we were looking into again through the Freedom of Public Records Act, other calls that you've made on behalf of maybe homeless people living in cars. A homeless person was murdered not that long ago, not too far away. So it's also there's a socioeconomic aspect to this as well as racial. And so I feel like when you say, well, I don't have enough money to buy a security guard, but that space, which again, it's private property, but like, exactly. It's their property, so why should we have to pay to be security for your property?
And one thing I want to share that I didn't add, because Asia's not here, she did the write-up of what we wanted to talk about. But the one thing that I want to share is that we not only did we want to recommend a security guard, but we want to make sure that businesses like yourself and people that have called the cops as many times to use our taxpayers' dollars in our city is flagged. Now, they are already saying it when you call that, oh, here she is again. They're flagged and they know that this person is calling the cops. We need to figure out some other kind of way to handle this rather than the
I
cops
looked
being
at
called.
her list of suggestions, Rivers. None of them had parking.
Well, River's a white woman, I want you to know. I'm the black woman.
No, I meant,
And
what I meant was, you know.
Yeah, the cards that actually somebody else had made up. And yeah, none of them are for parking. They're for emergencies, which is also what the police are for. And Miriam is right. And so I just want to address the fact that we invited you to a conversation like a month ago almost, and maybe 3 weeks.
No, it's been a
Well, June 19th was less than a month ago. So. But, invited you to a conversation a long time ago, and then when we finally came to your restaurant 2 weeks later, you and Pastor Les and Pastor Britt agreed to have that meeting. That meeting got canceled without any of us being asked or even really informed. And so for us to be, for y'all to act like, oh, come on, let's get this over with. It's like we've had to pursue this conversation just to have this conversation. And Jennifer and I spent hours on the phone, but I am a white person, and it's not actually my voice that I want you to listen to. And I know that the pastors who are showing up for you are black men, and their voices matter too, but there's black women here who are really the people who've been
to say the pastors are showing up for her is inaccurate. To say the pastors are showing up for her is inaccurate. What the pastors are showing up for is so that we can have peace and have a resolution in our community. That's why we're here.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
I guess I mean showing up to have a conversation.
So when you say it, I just want it to be accurate.
Okay.
And not one-sided.
Okay.
Because one-sided always leads to disagreements. And we want peace. That's why we're here. We're here because as pastors in this community, right, we stand for peace. We want everybody to be able to get along. In order to do that, we have to hear your side as well as her side. And that's all we want. That's why the pastors are here. The pastors are here because we stand together with all peoples of this community. We stand to say Black Lives Matter. We stand to say that no one should be marginalized, no one should be forgotten, no one should be pushed aside or pushed down. But everybody should be able to rise up together. That's why the pastors are here. And I want to make that very, very clear. We're here because we want to establish peace so that Seaside can come together and we can move forward.
Thank you. Do that for Robert's sake. Thank you for saying that, and I really also would like not to think about things as sides, as there being two sides.
Absolutely.
And so I think when I said the pastors are showing up, I mean showing up for a conversation, and that she showed up for that conversation because it was at our park-in that Pastor Les was there with his arm around her, and there was that conversation that was happening, but that we really want a conversation where all of us can show up. And so that's what's finally happening now, and we appreciate that. And so I didn't mean to suggest what you've just made clear is not the case, and so I appreciate that. that, and if my words had that impact.
But I think it's also really important. I think it's also really. Let me just say this really quick. I think it's also really important to examine ourselves and to make sure that our motivation, the effects and the impacts of our motivations, regardless of our intentions, are not detracting from the movement. And it seemed like some of the things that I saw happen and that people reported to me happen seemed like a little bit of detraction going on from one pastor specifically. But that's all I'm gonna say.
Pastor Love, stop doing that. See, we're talking about truth, but I'm standing right here, and you're referring to me. That is completely disrespectful and rude. I'm standing right here, and you are talking sideways, and I'm the pastor you're talking about. It was me.
Elder Jones, I want to say thank you.
It was me. I'm the one you called a slave. I'm the one you called the Uncle Tom. I'm the one you called a liar.
That's why you were not invited. That's why you were not invited.
Let's be truthful. Let's tell the truth.
Tired of it. Let Jennifer finish. Tired of it.
Let me.
Come on. Tired of it. Apologize so we can move on.
Tired of it. Uncle Tom, liar.
Really.
That's why you were not invited.
Well, Tom was a good man, so.
For him to be here is for me important, and I'll say why.
No, she can say what she's gonna say, Pastor. We didn't want to come here. We wanted to be on the corner of Broadway, okay? In a free space. We wanted to be there. We didn't want to come here.
Even though your intentions were not to call the police on black people, even though that was not your intention, and I'm not saying that you did that just for black people, you were talking about your parking space. But unfortunately, black people are singled out by the police. Not saying that you called on black people, but black people are the most affected negatively by the police. So we just want you to have that sincerely in your heart when you call, even if there's a crowd of white people and two black people will catch the worst rap, even in that situation.
I understand that
So
part.
even if your intentions wasn't just towards the black people,
I told, but I also want you to know, I told there was, I also, on that phone call, I told the police officer, there is no need for any police intervention. There is no need for anybody to come down here. There is no need for, I don't want to make a report. I'm just saying that. That was not my intention. And yes, I did call to, essentially, I did out of my frustration. It really was out of my frustration.
But you said it's not a
I understand what you're saying. But let me move on.
Sorry, I just don't understand then why you would call the 911 if you weren't asking
I
for
didn't
assistance.
call 911.
Or if you weren't asking for assistance, then what were you asking for? It said, she says the unit should respond immediately. She is not happy.
Yep, that's what it said. You said.
Well,
It's on the public records.
but I didn't say I need a response immediately.
Oh, then where did they get that from?
I don't know.
Well, we can let you go out and talk, and if you need to be reminded of what you said, we can get copies of what you actually said to the 911. We can get copies of what you actually said. We don't have to go there.
But this is community right
let me
now.
ask you a
We don't have to go there, but we can.
Let me ask you a question. Does every black person know that most police reports are not accurate when it comes to
No,
black
that's why I said we want to get actual recordings of what she said.
Right. So sometimes we all understand that sometimes the police report is not accurate. Can we agree with that?
We're just going off of the record.
We're going off of the 911 calls.
I understand what you're saying.
No. Let's leave
I
it alone.
am here.
Okay, no.
You know what? If I was a different person, maybe I wouldn't be here at all. But I'm here because I'm here to listen. And
We're going to give her a copy of that. Okay, everything.
Please.
Okay, good.
I am really, really here to listen to you guys.
Okay,
And
thank
I'm not
you.
here to be like, but you called, but you said, but you did this, but you did. I'm trying to like.
We did that to convince you that we know you did it more than once and it wasn't as innocent as you told us.
I'm trying to move forward. That's what I'm trying to do. It's like, let's, this is what we need to do as an entire nation is move forward.
Yes, so what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean,
I don't wanna encourage that moving forward.
but I mean, you get the gist of what I'm saying, in a positive direction. That's really what I'm here for.
Are you
Well, I truly, you know what, the part of this, like I said, that is great, is that in that little area of, is the fact that Pastor Lusk and I are like this together. And whatever problems I have, like I said, we are gonna deal together.
What about the rest of the
How are you going to support this
Everyone doesn't represent.
There is a change in behavior.
I mean, every black flag?
No, I mean, we mean in regard to this.
In regard to
Reverend
causing
does
the
not
cause.
represent Positive Halls, so.
Well, this is my part, is looking for alternative ways instead of calling the police to deal with my situation.
Yes.
Thank you.
And, unless it's like,
Of course, if there's a
Sure, something of violence,
or if
absolutely.
it's a violent offense.
so I agree to that. And I said that on that Sunday, I agree to that. That's what I can do as a person in this community. But I also, like I said, I'm not a racist person.
Do you feel called to share what you've learned with other business owners who are maybe in the same situation?
I feel good about what I'm doing now, for one. I'm not gonna make a plan to do this later for now. It's just, I hope you understand that. But I do, honestly, I feel pretty good about that. And I feel pretty good about, the people that have come together. And, I do feel like, in a year from now, when June rolls around next year, I do believe there's gonna be a new national holiday.
It is Juneteenth.
And, with that, I'm looking forward to that day. To be a lot different than this last Juneteenth for me. I'm looking forward to that day. So, I'm looking forward in a positive direction. And, and to Kayla, I'm gonna say it. I don't know if I can express to her how I really feel, because I get muddled and upset, because I do feel upset about the whole day.
But were the threats to you or to her? Because that's our problem, is the threats were to Kayla.
I get muddled by what I experienced.
Okay.
So tell us what you experienced. Oh no, that's too long.
So what we want
That's
to
way too
clarify
long.
is,
I can't go into that.
do you not
Well, hold on.
approve of
You
the
guys,
things that,
hold
do you
on
not
a
approve of
second.
the things that
Hold
were
on.
said to
It's-
Kayla on your behalf?
I don't.
People were making really egregious
Okay, so let me
statements.
address that.
Okay.
First of all, like I said, like I told River, I do not know one person who called her who. I don't know what they did. All I know is what I found out about Kayla in those comments, and random people that I don't even know called me about. So for me, like this whole doxing thing, I never even knew what that was. And so, like, I did not do this doxing thing. And I mean, I don't have time to dox people. Like I did not dox her personally.
Yes.
And if you think that
We're
my
not saying that.
supporters of mine dox me, honestly, I don't know who the hell my supporters are. Just people who walked out of somewhere. And I mean, thank God they did, because I was experiencing a lot of lot of, I feel like just a lot of emotional stuff these past months. So
So when I brought it up, I just specifically wanted to hear you say, I'm sorry. When I brought it up, I just wanted to specifically hear you say that I'm sorry that Kayla was being disparaged on my behalf, whether you know those people or not.
Because
right?
well,
Because
I don't
The only reason that
condone anybody, nobody should be going through that.
yeah, but
Nobody
the last
should
time you made us feel like we had it on live stream.
Yeah.
And you made us feel like you apologized for the mistake. There was no mistake. And I wanted to be very clear today with that. And we are very clear. But the other thing you did is you mentioned that there was threats as though it was to you. So you made the audience believe the threats were to you when they weren't to you. They were to Kayla Jones, another black woman. Okay? And then you took down all the negative stuff about you and left everything up about her, even her address, even all her stuff. And I'm like, if you're going to take anything down, take the whole thing down. Or take the ugly stuff about that they're saying to her. Just because she videoed it doesn't make her a monster.
I didn't say it.
No, but it's, the people were trying to do that on your behalf, whether you knew them or not.
And on your page on your Googi Grill Facebook page is where a lot of that happened. That's where their information was leaked.
Right, so I want to be very specific about this because it's something you need to share with your staff too, because I know that your manager is actually the one that, your manager who I spoke to.
I have one manager.
Okay, I spoke with her.
A male.
Okay, she told me she was your manager, but I spoke with her the day that we were down at your place on Sunday. She told me, so you need to share this with your staff, and if you need bilingual help, I can help you because I was talking to some of them in Spanish. I know that they're monolingual, some of them. But they specifically stated that they took down the comments that were not pertinent to the Googi Grill, and then one of the comments identifies Kayla Jones. It doesn't give her address, but it gives her name, and it says that she was a former councilwoman, and that was enough information for people to get her address. And that was the comment that was left up. So that is very specific.
If it was left up, then that means that they wouldn't take it down because I tried.
It was on your Facebook. It's not on.
You can delete it.
So
delete it from your business page.
So hold on, you guys, hold on. Those two apologies that we look for. Jennifer, the two apologies that we look for is the harm being done to a black woman in our community, and the fact that you did call the cops and it was no mistake, even if by chance you didn't know these people and all that. So that's the apology. That's one of the things we want you to stipulate to the proper apology.
In my mind, I did not call the police on any black woman or one black person or any person.
Okay, like I stated before, even if you didn't intentionally,
No,
that's
but-
what the police do. So we just want you to be aware of that for future.
I understand that.
Sincerely.
I do understand that the way it appears that, but I didn't.
Right, but you understand that's exactly what
We just want you to
said.
be-
It
No, I
doesn't
do
matter
understand.
who you
Be
call the
sincere,
cops
be
on.
empathetic, and say, okay, I've learned my lesson.
I do understand.
I will be more aware of
And I have
the
said
effects
that.
of calling the police, even
I totally
when
get
there
it.
are black people there, even if it wasn't intentional for black people. The
Your
police
intent
will
is
make
not the
it.
same as your impact, and so we hear that you didn't call it on one black person in particular, or even on a group of black people, but you have to understand
I promise you.
that the effect, if the cops had decided to show up, could you actually tell them, no, please don't come? They're cops, you can't tell them what to do. They're gonna do what they're gonna do because they are the people in any situation who are armed and defended by the law. So if they showed up, they're gonna be the ones to target, as Quinte already said. So sure, you didn't call it on black people, but that really doesn't actually matter in the scheme of the situation.
And to
It does matter.
highlight that specific situation,
Right.
it was a Juneteenth event.
I do.
So
Can I say
that
this?
made it that much more. So
Can I just say this,
know.
that in all of the conversation, even I think she's clearly stated that she understood, but then to continue to go on and try to make somebody say things that we want them to hear does not resolve the problem. You understand what I'm saying? So because this is what I want to hear you say. when I'm telling you that I heard you, I failed you, I will change my ways, then we have to accept that because no one is going to say exactly what you want them to say.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. So what I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's take it back. The only thing that I want to do, and I don't want to talk about this in detail by you or anybody. What I want to say is that is the reason that we're asking for a genuine apology.
Correct.
She can choose to do that or not. That's one of our stipulations. We're done with that. That's your choice. We're not forcing you to say any words. That's your choice. But we have a choice too, okay?
So do you feel like she hasn't apologized?
She has not genuinely apologized. She directed it like the threats were going to Kayla.
Okay.
And she, I mean, like they were going to her. She pretended
She's
in her
corrected
apology
that. She's
that the
corrected
threats
that.
were going to her. And in her apology, she said for any mistake,
Right.
we're calling the cops. And it's like it wasn't
Right.
real.
She's corrected that.
I don't hear the apology.
Well, okay, but now I'm just saying. But let me say. Let me say. Okay, so she corrected the fact that about Kayla.
I don't want to talk about it.
But
I
she
just
could.
want
But
the apology or not.
okay, I'm just asking you. So
That was a stipulation when I came in and I started talking.
okay.
Okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's
you,
over.
you're requesting now an apology from
An
her.
apology.
Okay.
A genuine apology.
Look at
I'm very, very sorry. I'm very sorry. You know, if my actions had been different that day, it would have been, this moment would have been different.
Yes.
So you accept that?
We accept that apology.
And for Shayla. Oh, Kayla.
For your failure to act sooner with Kayla, with the Kayla situation.
We're done.
You know what? Kayla, can you hear me?
Let her talk.
You guys let her talk because
She apologized, but
She doesn't need you to hold her hand or coddle her with this. She's an adult.
listen.
She's an adult.
Listen. Now, this is a dialogue. She apologized, then Miriam said she didn't want to go back to Kayla. She went back to Kayla.
she needs to apologize for the cops and Kayla.
All right.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm very sorry for calling the cops. I know how you feel.
And
I don't want anyone to feel like that.
We appreciate it.
No one should feel like that.
Feel like what specifically?
Well,
So we just want to make sure that this doesn't happen again because we all know the results.
I'm going to cover that. I already covered it and I'm covering that again. The next thing is that we want a contract that you will not be calling the cops.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, we can have an order drawn up.
That, you know what?
On a non-emergency, non-violent situation, we want a contract that you will not be calling the cops.
So let me say a couple words. And I didn't mean to sound like I was going to close it, or nothing. I just wanted to have a moment to hear Jennifer because I never heard her part in this. So initially, after the last call on Juneteenth that blew up this whole issue, the first offer was Restorative Justice Circle. A Restorative Justice Circle allows everyone to bring the matters and issues of their heart to the circle, right? To be talked about. And with that comes mediators that are trained to do so.
But you know that don't work for black people?
And it does work for black people.
It don't work for black people. I don't even know why you mentioned it.
I'm going somewhere with that though. I'm going somewhere with that. So in the process where we did not have that restorative justice opportunity, some folks that were actually stepping up to mediate also got a backlash from this issue, and that hasn't been brought up. There was some people have lost their jobs, some people have been demoted in accusation of supporting Black Lives Matter. And we can't let things like that happen, and we can't extort and say, hey, this you got to do A, B, C, and D. No, but what we can do is we can pause the calls. Yes. We push that into policy, and then from that point, anyone that breaks that policy, then they're dealt with. I really respect San Francisco for their Karen Act. I even like that they named it Karen, even though they named it with the C. And pause the cause is completely in line with that, right? And so that's what we move to do. Some might consider this as an interrogation, and it's only the formalities of the way that we're set up.
That's right.
And how we set it up, in that evidence-based practice, then it would look a lot different, right, than it does today. So, not to continue, now to go back and forth, because there's the mediation is not felt like mediation. Some of the pastors wanted to do that, but instantly, everybody was already like, okay, there's this side and there's this side, so there is no middle. Which was why I actually asked to speak a little bit later, because I wanted to be able to hear more before I could offer out anything.
So I said there were sides because of my understanding, because of how we've been attacked in this whole issue, how everybody has stepped up for her. I said there were sides. You haven't been there.
And I get that. And I get that.
Well, let's get it clear,
because there's nothing that anybody, even my own pastor right here, can do to take me out of the skin that I am in. I am too a black woman, right? And so I understand that, and I explained to Pastor Les as well, is that we don't get to determine the depth of people's pain. And that is what this is all about. Because a part of restorative is a healing practice, right? And which is why what better place and what better people to come into this is the faith-based body in our community. So where we want to.
Your pain's included.
Your pain is included. Your pain is in. Your pain is included.
So maybe this wasn't a good idea, because we're not going to be suppressed.
However,
this is not a good idea.
Jennifer,
because now you're saying she don't have to agree to anything, and she's feeling interrogated and pinned up against the wall. This is not a good idea. We're not here to interrogate. We're here to say things happen, and it needs to be done a different way than this right now.
Right.
Because I'm not going to go through being suppressed or oppressed over what she feels and what she thinks, and feeling like we're interrogating her, because that's not what the intention is. But she needs to hear from us.
That's not the intention.
She needs to hear from us, so I can handle it a whole different way, and maybe we can get a lawyer and get it done and put the paperwork in front of her. Since people don't understand, black people suffer too far, too long, and she's always being protected. The whole thing is her protection. You were not with us no time but tonight, and she's been protected through this whole thing. I feel sorry for all of us.
But we've been following it. Hold on for a minute, though.
I'm not a cop, Lisa. I don't want to talk about a cop.
We're not using the cop.
We're
not using the cop.
You a cop, and you have not showed up to nothing.
What? Can I say one thing on behalf of? Can I say one thing on behalf of what Jennifer said? I want to say one thing.
I don't want to go to suppression.
I want to say one thing on behalf of what Jennifer said when she said, "What about her pain?" In all honesty, we would not have had to protest up until this moment if a restorative conversation would have been agreed upon and happened in the beginning. You would not even feel the wrath of pain or feel as if you're being backed into a corner had you agreed from the
initially she agreed. So
I don't know
whatever.
We wouldn't have had this conversation.
Whatever happened.
She took the sign down, and then she didn't give a genuine apology.
But she did today, right?
But she did today.
Yes. Okay.
And we want the sign back up at an agreed upon time, but you want to say that all these stipulations are stuff that, is not reasonable. Maybe she could talk better than me, because I graduated Seaside High without being able to read, write, or understand written language. So I have trouble with my way of talking, but I mean business. I mean business. You may not understand me. That's why I said what I had to say, and I mean what I say, and I don't play with words. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't fix it up. I'm direct and straightforward, and you get what I mean. If you don't try to understand what I mean, I don't mean no harm. I come in peace, but we are not having this stuff in our community. We will not be suppressed. We will not be oppressed. And I will not talk about a suppression form of doing things. That's what I'm concerned with. And so if she feels bad, well, how do you imagine we feel?
So we, so she apologized. And we standing on the church. Don't put your hand up to me because I'm not one of your kids. So we standing on the church grounds. I'm just gonna say we better together. But don't come for me because I will read you in front of both of these pastors. Don't come for me, Miriam. It's not that serious. We better together. All of us are better together.
Hold on. Let me talk.
Take a breath, everybody. Take a breath, everybody.
All right.
Take a breath, everybody.
Hey, I'm talking now. Hold it. And a peaceful conversation. I don't even know what Sister Miriam talking about. Is it even legal? She apologized. The apology has been accepted. We started the dialogue. We started what you all wanted to do. And we made some headway. Let's not go back. Let's not go back. I want to address a couple of issues. I'm here as a pastor. From day one, I was here as a pastor. I talked to Sister Smith. I always call Sister Smith. When this happened, when the protest happened, I called Sister Smith. For the sake of the city, let's not do this. I wasn't trying to suppress Black Lives Matter. I'm a black man. I'm a former officer. So let me straight, because I'm not here as a police officer. I'm here as a pastor. I retired. So I'm not on the police side. Because when I get stopped, I'm nervous. I'm scared. So Black lives do matter. So the thing about it was, I'm here for the sake of the city, for peace. And I told her that. I said, please, for the sake of the city. She said, well, let's talk. We tried to talk. We ended up here. We're here tonight. We talked. The lady apologized. I don't even know. Because if you're doing what you're doing, and I'm not trying to, if you're trying to demand something, you may demand a Black Lives Matter on my church. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be illegal to do that. But the woman apologized sincerely. I don't believe she's racist. I go to her restaurant and I enjoy it. I want every restaurant on this community to be enjoyed by all people. So I'm married. So I want Mary to come say something. I'm really done.
Wait a minute, my daughter wanted to say
I
something.
think, well, I want the mayor to say something first.
He can say something afterwards. My daughter wanted to say something. She wanted to say
She's
something.
on the phone.
And so, you still gotta say something. And this is not the thing here. Okay, we came here for, and I made it very clear when we talked about having a conversation. Okay, we're not coming here trying to make anybody feel good because we feel real bad about this. And we're gonna have to work through the community and make sure these things don't happen. This is not just the end. Okay, I don't need nobody coming in at the very end trying to get me straight. Okay, I'm straight. I'm straight on everything that we doing. I'm straight. Okay, I'm as straight as we're gonna get. I'm too old to change. I graduated not being able to read right, so I ain't gonna have your language. I ain't gonna have your language. I got Miriam's language. I talk like Miriam talk. These people understand me. I mean no harm. We come in peace and we come with no harm. I don't care if you disrespect me or don't like me or you think you above me. I asked Lisa not to say anything because she was never a part of the conversation. She don't need to come. I don't need no say what they people, you know. And so she can get upset if she wants to, but she was never a part of the conversation about our issues, how to unwrap our pain, and she doesn't go through the same pains that we go through. So I did not know what was where it was coming from. But this is about, you know, if we are forcing her or whatever, and if she can't understand, then we didn't need to stop what we were doing and come and have a conversation. We did not need to do that until she came out to us and said, okay, I'll do this, okay, I'll do that. Because this is a volunteer thing, but we mean business. Okay? You understand? It's volunteer, but we mean business. Okay? We're not taking no for an answer. I'm not going to be suppressed about this, and you're not about to oppress me because that's why you guys think there's no problem in the city of Seaside right now. It's because y'all suppress all these matters, and you cover them under the rug. So if I'm saying something wrong, then we're going to move forward with something right, and we're going to fix this moving forward. Now, we've had these stipulations, whether people like them or not. They have been done, like I told you. I had a stipulation done with me. A man did me wrong in the city of Seaside. We went and sat down and talked about it. He was to put a sign in his yard for 1 year, okay? And then after he put a sign in his yard for 1 year, I got $7,000 for it. Now I could have got $40,000 for it. Okay? But it didn't happen that way. If she doesn't want to agree to any terms, if she don't want to work, now I'm telling everybody what happened to me. Okay? Guy that owned the real estate right here in Seaside. Okay? It kept quiet because they called me and said, "Ma'am, we know you can get more," but he's agreeing to let you have the place. He's agreeing to put a sign in his yard. He's agreeing to do this. So these things are in court. These things happen. And my thing is that I'm tired of black people being stepped on in this community and everybody ignoring it and everybody acting like, let's cover it up so it ain't happening. It ain't happening. You know, just because I don't have the same education as everybody else, you ain't gonna walk over me no more. I'm very poor. I raised 9 kids in this community. And you're not gonna step on me because you can talk different or you got an education or you got this. No more. No more poor people when you step on. You're not gonna work on the poor people. Okay? It's unfair what happened. It don't matter how she feels or how we feel right now. We are trying to stop the pain from black people in this community. Now I want my daughter to say something and then whoever else, but I don't want to be suppressed with no conversation. I hear suppression. I'm going to get along with you because I got education. I don't want it. I'm not going to get along with you because I got an education. I don't got an education. I'm the one that get affected by this kind of stuff. I'm the kind of person that get affected. Not the educators. Not the people that are above, being touched. I'm the one that gets affected. Me and people like me.
Right. So, again, my name is Gertrude Smith, and Pause the Cause is my brainchild from when I was a teenager. And when I realized that things need to start taking place at the grassroots level so that everything can be healthy, right? And I decided that I wanted to be involved and help people to understand the importance of being responsible and intentional with the actions that we take towards our neighbors in the community. I do want to say that I do feel like there's a bit, I have felt like my mom has said, I have felt like, and I'm just going to say specific words because they tend to be more concise, even though she has already said a lot. There has been an air of classism and elitism towards myself and my family when it comes to us trying to come to these conversations and have these conversations about people being mistreated. And, sometimes even though we're willing to do the work, a lot of people aren't willing to collaborate with us, even though we have the ideas and we have the drive to get the resources. People aren't always willing to collaborate with us because they don't see us as being on the same level as them, and that's not necessarily the conversation that we're here for, but I felt like it was necessary to say that because of, something that's, and then I don't want to upset anybody by being vague, so I'm just going to say names specifically this time, to Miss Lisa coming in and saying that she's going to read my mom, and Miss Rosalind saying that this situation has turned into an interrogation, and I just want to.
That's not what I said, though.
Oh, okay.
I said some people felt like that, and then I got cut off. So we have to have a full balance, because this is your thing, right? You do control it, but you have to control it with balance. So that doesn't mean cut me off. No,
I haven't been meaning to cut you off. So
and I get that, and I'm not here on defense.
Okay.
I didn't come here on defense. I came here with an open mind. I came here to hear everything and then speak because I was invited to speak, right? And so at the end of what I was gonna say is that I too have witnessed the privilege, and that I wanted to incorporate, instead of looking at like we're just pushing our agenda on it. Let's spread and scale it and say, hey, we need to do some trainings. People that are privileged, like the lady that spoke, oftentimes don't even know it, because that's what they was born in, right? And so they carried that with them, sometimes without even knowing it. And then it is a learned behavior. Some of it is a learned behavior, right? And you learn, and I watch Jennifer, you know, do all the and we don't get to do that, right?
And nobody comes running to us.
And so that's what I was speaking to when I was saying that no one can change the skin that I'm in.
Exactly.
You know, I've lived it. You know, I'm half of a century, and so what I come to this conversation with is, okay, where are we going next? Where are we finding resolve? Because even with her putting the sign in her window, yes, that's an applaud, right? But what does she learn from that? And what does anyone else, you know, that may be doing the same thing get from that? So that's why I suggested, let's turn this into a policy. We don't have to force it down nobody's throat.
We're working on that.
We turn it.
That's been a part of our conversation.
You know, to wrap up, I allowed you to speak a little bit because I allowed you to speak to clarify something that I misspoke on. I'm sorry that I did that. But I wanted to say I appreciated this model because it feels more like people are on equal footing. It feels more like a community-based approach versus, and that's what I meant by the elitism and the classism is because, you know, our experiences, our lived experiences have trained us with how to operate within systems that oppress us. So that training is also valid. And that's why I feel like it's important to say that, yes, while balance is good, and I'm going to, I would love to collaborate with you on that and get some, pick your brain and get some of those ideas. But sometimes those settings, and in my early days, because I'm not new to restorative justice at all, I used to break up fights on the schoolyard. So like,
and I was your teacher, so imagine that.
Yeah,
I'm not new to it either.
Exactly. So like, and I'm young, you know. So, but my point is, sometimes the settings, not necessarily saying that's how you would be involved with it, but in my experience, those settings with those trainings, sometimes they get a little bit too focused on white tears and white guilt and not focused enough on action. And so that's why we wanted to take this community approach to make sure that it's not just about, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And then there's nothing that comes from that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Can I piggyback on something that both of you are stating?
Yeah.
And I want to say this just to let you know, Jennifer.
Yeah, I want to invite Jennifer back in.
Jennifer.
Yeah, they want you.
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
I wanted to say something very important so that you can hear and be made aware of it. This whole setting is not to just back you up in a corner or intimidate you. What we're doing is we're using this opportunity to make you aware of the things that you were not aware of that displays racist. Because you were born into it, because that's your normal life, you're not aware of how it affects others as racist. So we're just trying to make you aware of how your normal behavior affects us so that you can consciously make better decisions in the future. Not to come down on you because it's what you were born into. We're all born into a program. And unfortunately, that's the program that has become a natural way of life for you. And it's hard for you to be aware of the behavior and whether or not it is racist. But we're just making you aware of how that behavior affects us so that you can consciously make better decisions in the future. And you won't have to dismiss us, or we won't feel as if you're being dismissive. You know, you'll be more aware, like, hey, wait a minute, let me put myself in their shoes in this moment and see how my behavior can come off as racist. Even though it's not your intention, but I mean, the whole world is shifting. The veils is being revealed to everybody. And we just want to make you aware, not just to say you're a bad person, you're a bad person. No, we want, the only way that we can label you as a bad person is if you take this information and say, I don't care. That's the only way we can label you as a bad person. But if you take this information and you sincerely and deeply, consciously make a better effort and you empathize with how your behavior is affecting us, your slate is clean with us. If you take this information and say, I don't care, I'm going to continue to use my white privilege, then you're saying, excuse me, forget what we're talking about. It almost came out.
You did good.
But that's the only way we can put you in that category. So we're not calling you the bad person now. But we're saying is you need to be made aware. So we've just demanded a platform. We've demanded our voices so that you can hear us and learn and make better decisions in the future.
Thank you for
Thank you. And we appreciate you getting to this moment. We appreciate that.
That's right.
And like it's hard for us to show our good, it's hard for us to show who we really are and what our intentions are if we have to argue and demand to get to this point. So unfortunately, what you saw at the beginning was just for us to get to here, and now we can grow from there. Okay.
Thank you. After Joe.
Mr. Joe.
Thank you. As you know, we're here for peace, and we don't want nobody to feel marginalized or neglected or left out. But here is the real deal. Someone said we're all better together.
Yes.
And all the black people here know what you said, know how you feel, because we faced it just as much as you have.
Yes.
And you may think, well, you're the only one who faced that in Seaside.
Yeah.
And maybe I may not have faced it in Seaside. But if I leave Seaside where no one knows me, or if the mayor leaves Seaside where they don't know him, right? He's still just another black man driving. Mm-hmm. And he's still subject to the same abuse somewhere else that you are subject to here. So don't marginalize our experiences because we're just as black as you are. And I think that when we have those experiences, it has hurt us to our core, just like the experiences that you've had hurt you to your core. But here it is. We can come together and build up each other and encourage one another. And then that's where we go from here. And I wanted to yield a little bit of my time to the mayor because he wanted to have some words. Please.
Can I say one thing before you? It's a real good thing. It's a real good thing. I just wanted to say that the reason why black women get so angry is because that's a privilege that we don't have. Mm-hmm. And we just wanted to show you that
we don't have that privilege. We don't have that privilege either
as black women. I mean, I'm talking about from black men. You know, we're considered as strong to even black men.
As the mayor comes, I actually had explained that or expressed that same thing to Harold, because even this setting that we're in right now, never, ever will you ever see, and I don't care what white man it is, you will never see 1, 2, 3, 4, somebody left, 5 white men stand behind a black woman, and I don't care what happened.
We don't have that.
You know, all the black mothers whose kids, whose sons is being murdered, and even daughters, Breonna Taylor, are being murdered. You're never going to get 5 prominent figures of white men in one place to stand behind or even with or even in front of a black woman. It's not going to happen. So just even the visual in it already sparked the fire.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I had to do a lot of personal work on myself just to even just say, no, this is they coming in peace. To even imagine what you're coming for.
We're not here to stand behind her.
Right.
As pastors.
That's why I said I had to work on the visual of it, the perception of it.
We're not here to stand behind her.
I'm just going to talk for a few minutes and then people can come back. I want to appreciate Pastor Brett for allowing us to have this Bible discussion on this sacred ground. And we need to remember where we are. Secondly, it was said, and I think it was easy to say, that as black men, somehow we were on one side or the other. No, we were called down here to be around this conversation, right? And so as black men, we were here. That's the first thing. Third thing is, I was invited to be here as the mayor, if that makes sense, right? That's why I'm here. So I'm not here to be on one side or the other. But what the Pause for the Cause has done has opened eyes for a lot of people in this community.
That's right.
And we should celebrate that.
That's right. We do.
I think we lost focus, right? Because we come here for this restorative justice, so to speak, And once Jennifer, and I never spoke to Jennifer until right now. So when someone assumes I come here to support, I don't know her. But what I do know is the citizens of Seaside are loving, caring individuals. And we were down here to have a conversation. But because of what Pause and Cause has done, the city of Seaside has put in over $180,000 to have people respond to nonviolent emergencies.
Yes.
Because of what you have done, what you want.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And that's all of us benefiting from that.
That's
and
right.
that's what's getting lost here. Right? After the apology and all that stuff, we're going to have 2 to 3 people on duty to take those calls.
I'm grateful for
So
Miriam.
if it's not violent, then somebody will come, mental health, social worker, and they'll figure out, hey, this is a conversation you guys need to solve among yourselves. That's because of you and your work. Don't let nobody lose that.
That's right.
And they wouldn't try to take that away from me. I don't know how that got lost.
That's right.
Because that's what's going on. And you guys got that started. But this interpersonal stuff, that can be resolved.
That's right.
And I think you've done it, because I think Jennifer said sincerely that she knows better now. And I like just what you said. I don't know your name. What's up? Yeah, I didn't take it for real, but I read it. Queen Tay. My point is, it's if the person has the information, they continue to have it. She didn't have it before you guys gave her
That's right.
conversation.
She did not have
So
it.
us sitting up here saying, well, you did wrong before I told you you were doing something wrong, I don't know how that works, right? But this conversation about white privilege, that's not that old in the community. It may have been studied about. You guys may have got the language down pat, but around the country, that is new. And that's going to take 3, 4, 5 years for it to trickle down to the little man around the corner. When you remember kids cross his grass, you know what I'm saying? Get off my grass. That's going to take years for people to understand. That's not a reason to get mad at the kid. That's not a reason to call the police. So because we're having a high level conversation about it, it's fine. But we need to integrate it in the community.
Yes.
Because black lives do matter.
Yes, yes,
And we
yes.
all agree with that.
Yes.
And I just want to end by saying, Miriam, you and your daughter and the group and the community, because we're stronger together, no one does it by themselves.
That's right.
It's changing because we all suffer, if that makes sense.
That's right.
Right?
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
Years ago, today, tomorrow, yesterday, we all suffered. But because of the advocacy, I'm telling you, here in the city of Seaside, I think if you guys stayed up to the meeting last night till 11:30, we potentially will have 3 people responding to calls that are non-life-threatening, non-violent crimes. We haven't figured that out exactly how that would work, and I want you guys experts to work in, because I don't want an outside person to figure out how it works.
That's right. Our community. That's right.
Well,
Cause,
that's how it works. But I talked to you already, and I said I wanted you there to figure, to help us figure out what calls they're going to and how it works. Because
me and my daughter.
Well, whoever comes, but I'm just telling you guys, your advocacy, all of you guys, is making a change. But if we don't stick together to see these things through, and we just splinter, then we're going to be where we was a year and a half ago, so to speak, right? Yeah. So all this advocacy, Black Lives Matter, and the marching and the protesting, is fine and it's dandy. But if you're going to talk about action, then the city is prepared to take action. We need you guys to help and assist us do that. My last point is, we put money in the budget to do some of those things, push more money back out into the community. And I found out last night it's going to take much longer than what I thought it should be, and I don't appreciate that. And I'm trying to figure out things. Well, we got to demand that it's done sooner.
Yeah,
that's what I need your help to do. Sooner. Because by the time November, it's too late.
Yeah.
You don't push out money and say we won't spend it for 8 months.
That's right.
Right? But that's what the council did last night, and as the mayor, I have to put into practice. I almost said put in protest. What they did, right?
You're watching them words.
But when the community comes down there, I think we can be able to compress that schedule.
Yeah.
Because what I want to do is start anew for the next year's budget and include the same funding in that budget to grow what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
But I want to appreciate you guys coming together. I just think as individuals, You have to give Jennifer the opportunity to go back and practice what you guys told her. You know, because that is new to a lot of us, about how do we respond to someone else's privilege or living within the dynamics we were grown with, right? And so that's what we're doing now, and I just think that is reality.
That's reality.
That's reality. So you guys gonna have to live with that. That is reality.
Yeah.
And so that may be separate. You know, that's in response to people calling when they shouldn't be calling. I don't know any other city that is doing that. I just found out Monterey has a social worker responding to some of the police calls, but it's paid by the county. And what I told you guys before, the county should be paying for it.
Right.
But right now, the city's paying for it. So when we talk about that, we are probably the only city in the county that's doing it. And so that's because of the community working together, and that's because of the ideas you guys started off with.
Can I ask you a quick question, ma'am? You know how, like, when a fire department is falsely called and there's reprimand for that, shouldn't there be something implemented for non-emergency calls?
That's gonna be rolled up, yeah.
Kind of like implemented,
Well,
kind of like a fine.
No, but see, that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. The call says when that person called, we're not sending a guy with a gun.
Okay.
But we can't say you shouldn't call your local
I'm talking
police.
about for the funds that it would cost the city.
No, you can't
False
charge
alarms?
people to call the police. You can't, you know.
Even for false calls?
Because the thing is, well, there's no false call. It's just when I get there, you guys are just having an argument over your fence, argument over the grass.
Seeing if it's
and so
habitual.
Yeah, but no. Well, but what I'm saying is, the person used to come with the gun, and you guys said don't send a guy with a gun. We are sending somebody without the gun. So the next step, I guess you could say, well, but how can I tell you, please, if you think you need to call for some independent arbitrator between you and another citizen, you can't do that. Right? And I can't judge why you called till I get there, but you guys are saying.
But after you get there and you look at the record and you tally it and you see
It's so small. It's so small. Well, but that's your right. That's your right. And I can only go so far and answer your question. Is that's your constitutional right to call for an independent arbitrator? We used to be a police officer, and you guys said that's not the right person to send because sometimes when he has that gun, he does bad things.
I guess a compromise, I guess.
We're stopping it. Well, but now the compromise is change.
It's changed.
Well,
You're right. You're right.
Thank you so much.
Pause the cause! 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 Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Well, I guess, that is said. I want to ask Jennifer, though, would you like to hang this up in your window for us again, without it being taken down?
Just in support of Pause the Cause and Black Lives Matter. You see that the mayor is in support.
We can agree upon amount of time. I'm not asking for you to do it a year. I'm not even asking for 6 months.
Would it be okay if I say, let me just take a pause for a moment with that answer?
Yeah, you can pause.
How long? How long is the pause?
Just a moment.
Just a moment?
I just want to feel comfortable with it.
It's just a show of solidarity.
I don't know until I understand. I just wanted to.
You just say you want to say
Right,
no.
not today.
Not
Don't
today.
do that.
No, not today. Not today.
That's your choice. We get nothing done ever, and this ain't happening today. We'll stand out there with the sign.
And I appreciate all the words from everybody. I really do.
Okay.
And I'm learning.
And we thank you for showing up.
I appreciate it. I mean, I really do. I've learned.
But just so you know, we're gonna hold the sign in front of your place.
This was a lot of education that we just gave you for free. And some people charge high tuition for this.
And I want you to know I'm grateful. No, honestly, I'm very grateful. And just know that from my heart.
Yeah.
And Miriam, I want you to know
And so, Gertrude, I was just telling, I was just telling my board because whenever we have,
I believe you.
implicit bias,
I believe you are sorry. The thing is there's a problem in our community.
we never,
And mostly the preachers have shut us down
black people
and
to
said
give
there was no
us training,
problem.
right?
We asked people to sign up and had Rebelus, I don't know, told us that you didn't know what happened to it, took it down. So there's still a problem. There's still a problem.
Your curriculum, because that is what this movement is really about.
Did you know that you took it down?
Right.
Did you really think
In my work, I should be able to say, wait, no, I know somebody. You know, instead of giving thousands of dollars to
Well, we wanted to agree upon an amount
import
of time.
someone in.
We
Not
will
only
give
that, she
you
knows
until tomorrow to
and
agree
we're
upon an amount
organizers
of
in the
time.
community. So
You don't have to have a year, you don't have to have a 6 month.
And I don't,
You know.
I hope that you, I hope
I understand, but if you're sorry and you're genuinely sorry.
attacking you at any point.
No, I knew what you were saying.
Okay,
This
yeah.
should not be a
Because
problem.
I wanted to
What
say,
part
like,
did you find
my
so
vision for this in terms of doing
Sorry,
things,
not really.
I understand the value of collaborating with other people who are educated on other systems and how to come to solutions, right? But I wanted it to be this way in terms of feeling like a community. And I didn't mean to be so, I didn't mean to be so, aggressive, but the people that are
Pastor Britt, they're